Teachers, you are not crazy. This time of year is hard. It's like the perfect storm for classroom chaos. The honeymoon phase is over. Kids are really showing their true colors. They're also pushing you to see what they're in for all year. And then on top of that, content is rolling. Assessments are rolling. PLCs are rolling. And we're tired. So no, you're not throwing in the towel. Your year is not trashed. You have not made the worst life-changing decision of your life by joining this profession. Veteran teachers just know this time of year, you just have to push through it. But then I hear you. Phillips, I'm trying. If you are new here, come in. This is a professional development that's actually like realistic and reasonable. It's actionable. You can take it and use it in your classroom tomorrow. I'm not some old man up on the stage talking about what should work in theory. I've been in the trenches. 13 years in a very chaotic environment, a very under-supported environment, and I'm going to help you make sense of the chaos, set up some structure, set up some vibes. Because I get the complicated relationship with teaching. It's killing us right now, but we want to love teaching. We want to be teachers. We want to love our jobs again. So I got you. In this video, we're going to break down like the do's and don'ts to make it through this rough patch. We're avoiding the October dumpster fire. In fact, we want to have the classroom that's actually running itself come October. And I'm going to give you guys a 2-week action plan that's going to help you get back on the rails. Let's talk about why this time of year is so hard. We've already touched on it briefly, but having some clarity around why things are the way they are right now will kind of help prioritize what stuff we can like really clamp down on and what stuff we can kind of let go of because we only have so much energy, right? So like I said, students like true colors are showing. They're not in their little timid beginner phase right now. What that means for us is that we're going to have to provide structure, like doing little things in our classrooms the exact same way every single day, that predictability, that consistency. 2, kids are testing our boundaries because they want to see where you're at. Do you really mean what you say? How much are you just like talking? So keep in mind that whatever you allow right now, you're non-verbally communicating that you are okay with that the rest of the year, right? And then to top it all off, content is hard right now. So we really have to like work smarter, not harder. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about some do's and don'ts for things regarding like the behavior, the testing of the boundaries, the chaos, the little flare-ups. One student getting everything off track. I also want to take this time to mention that this video is meant to be like a rapid fire, like to kind of give you like some clarity and help you prioritize to make a game plan to make it through September and October. If you have any questions along the way of like, oh, I want to know more about this, or like a full breakdown of some of these strategies that I'm talking about, I'm going to list all kinds of videos in the description that are going to like direct you where to go to get that information. Setting you up for success over here. So like I said, rapid fire. Don't keep managing behavior the same way. The nagging, the fussing, the snowballing, and like not getting anywhere with it. Like we're giving harsher consequences. Now you owe me recess all week. That's not working, is it? Do take an audit of your day. Kids need structure. So we need to identify the parts of your day that are like starting that unraveling feeling. What are the parts of your day that are like SOS, triage, like needs immediate attention? You can use a routines and procedures checklist like this one and kind of go through the list and circle or highlight the ones that are the points of your day that are like real pain points. Like I said, when those behaviors happen, you have to have a routine, a structure for how you do things every single time to default back to when kids start acting a fool. Nope, what's the expectation? This is the way we do things. What's the expectation? This is the way we do things. Go back and try it again. Not only does it give you something to fall back on, it also helps those students with their behavior. They know exactly what to expect. It provides them with a sense of security and predictability, which we know kids need, whether or not they know it. So some common trouble spots are things like starting classwork, coming into the classroom, staying on task during work, what to do when they need help, what to do when one student starts wiling out, switching classes when you're departmentalized, packing up at the end of the day, lining up and coming back into the classroom. If you're feeling overwhelmed by that, you're like, girl, it's everything. Prioritize transitions. That's where behaviors happen. So in and out of the classroom, moving from mini lessons to our seats, packing up at the end of the day, write a routine for those. And don't panic, I have a video for those. I also have some resources for you guys. That leads us into our next don't. Don't just tell your students the steps of your routine and then never mention it again. Do get chart paper and write the steps of your new routine and anchor it. Keep it up. I personally prefer charts over slides because charts, you can have them like all over your room to refer to at different times. And like sometimes you need something up on your screen for your lesson or for your content or your daily agenda slide or something, and you can't have that routine up there. I think it's good to have it anchored around your classroom, if that makes sense. Here's some things to consider whenever you're writing those steps for your routine. I love leading my routines with the phrase, calmness is contagious. Once you have your new routine written, you need to teach it, you need to model it, you need to practice it with your students, and then you need to enforce it. Again, I have a video about that. Don't wait for behaviors to happen and then react to them. Do maintain your top 95%. What I mean by that is it's like maintenance mode of all your little behaviors. You give an expectation, you're going to monitor like a hawk to make sure that 100% of your students are meeting that expectation. If you said silent, as soon as you start to see someone whisper, catch them. You want 100% of your students meeting your expectations. As soon as those boys look up from their desks and make eye contact with each other across the room, catch them. As soon as you see that little hand go inside that desk and grab those scissors, catch them. You're watching like a hawk to catch all those little things. And I already know what you're going to say. But Phillips, if I did that, I would be monitoring behavior. Like that's all I could do. I couldn't do anything else. Please go watch this video. I promise there is a way to do this and it will make your life so much easier. It is like a huge corner that you will turn in your classroom management style. So again, whenever I say that top 95% rule, I'm talking like with your car, for example, would you like let all of the maintenance, the oil changes, the brake pads, the tune-ups, all those things go until your car is like riding on 3 wheels, like rattling, squealing, doing all kinds of things? Would you rather be in that type of position, or would you rather be in a place where you're on top of it, you're maintaining those things, you got the wiper fluid, you got the coolant, whatever kind of juices you put in your car, like all those things are taken care of. We want to be catching all of those little 5% things that are going to devolve into your classroom riding on 3 wheels. It's so much harder to get your classroom back up to functioning the way that you want whenever all those behaviors have taken it down to half your kids are following expectations and half are not. So instead, we make sure that everyone is doing every little thing that we told them to do. Yes, we are picky, because that is proving to your students that you mean what you say. It's a tough patch. We'll get through it. You won't have to do that all year. Right now, though, you will. But do you want to be doing that now for a little bit, or do you want to be fussing at them all year? Right. On that note, don't fuss, nag, raise your voice every single day, multiple times a day, and rely on those things. Because remember, if you're mad, you've let something go for too long. You could have addressed it way earlier. So do be consistent with enforcing what you say. You gave your attention getter and you have eyes on me in 5, eyes on me in 4, I'm waiting on 1, eyes on me in 3, and you're enforcing that student to get their eyes on you. You're not moving on until that student's eyes are on you. Is that nitpicky? Yes. But right now it's like you're training your students what you are willing to accept and what you are not willing to accept. And like I said, what you allow now, you're okay with all year. It might look something like this. When I say go, we're going to take out our science notebooks and you're going to write this in your table of contents and go. And then you're monitoring. You're walking around the room or you're standing at the front of the room and your students see that you're like being dramatic. You're being picky. You're like a little hawk up there watching for your students to get out those notebooks, like you said, open up to their table of contents and their pencils are moving, writing down what you just told them to write down. This is not optional. And if someone chooses to slide out their Chromebook instead, chooses to get up out of their seat and go to their backpack instead, come back and try that again. What's the expectation right now? See how you always have something to default back to if you give a very clear expectation, if you have that structure. You're not just fussing at a student. You're saying, what's the expectation? Right, can you do that? Thanks. Maybe you told them to do that silently. Maybe you're sitting at a small group table working with a group of kids and they're doing independent work. You catch that whispering, you could say, what's the expectation for our voice levels? And I already know how it goes. I wasn't even talking. What's the expectation for our voice levels? I wasn't even talking. I didn't say you were talking. That's teacher to teacher right here. To a student, I would say, right, what's the expectation for our voice levels? Like you're not even accusing them of talking. You're asking them what the expectation is. Though we're silent, or if they don't want to give it to you, you could say, the expectations that our voices are off right now. Can you do that for me? Great, thanks. If it happens again, then you go have a conversation. We just clarified that our expectation is that our voices are silent. You were talking, next time it's going to need to be this. You get your consequence. You get a check. You lose a dojo point, whatever it is. It's time to like take action. Again, I have a video on that. Which brings me to our next one. I know this is hard to hear. Don't let the little things slide because you don't want to deal with it, because you're tired or you're afraid to deal with it. And I know you're like, afraid? Yes, I know y'all know what I'm talking about. You like don't want to go up to a kid because you like don't want to deal with the confrontation. You don't know what you're going to say. You know the kid's going to give you pushback. You don't want to deal with it. So the do is easy. Do tell them to go back and do it again. Do ask them what the expectation is. Once they fix it, once they tell you what the expectation is, 90% of the time, it can be a great thank you. Now you know what to do. You can move on. There's no like hassle. There's no back and forth. And then, like I said, out of fear or you're like afraid, you don't want to deal with it, always have something to say, always have a backup plan, always have a choice that you're going to give your students. Right, you just told me that our expectation is that we're silent, so you can either come sit by me or we can write a note home and you can get this work done during your lunch. See the choices there? You get the consequence of sitting by me. You'll be able to be silent and get your work done. That's what we want. Or you're going to have a consequence of doing your work on your own time and parent contact. You go and address a student who's off task during reader's workshop. We only have our library books out right now so that we can focus and get our work done. You can put your Chromebook away and start reading your library book, or you can come sit with me and we can read together. See, simple choices. One is compliance, one is a consequence. Notice how it's also a natural consequence. All right, and then when it comes to like those lessons, that instruction, remember we're working smarter, not harder. Don't do a whole lesson or a whole activity together for 30 minutes to an hour because your kids aren't getting it. We've all been there, no judgment. Instead, do get 100% of your students' attention on you. Model like the first step, the first question, the first part, whatever it is. Then do a piece together. Hold your students accountable in some way for making sure that they get that piece done. Come back together to check in. Then you're going to set a timer for students to do the next piece on their own, a very small chunk. 2 minutes to get this next question done. 3 minutes at your table groups to answer this question. Whatever it is. Come back together when that timer goes off. Their attention's on you. They're silent, and you check in on how they did. And you're going to use that to see what your next steps are. Do they need more time with you? Do you need to do one more problem together? Did they all make the same kind of mistake? Is there some big misconception that they're all making that you can address really quickly? Can they go do a bigger step now on their own without you? Set that timer and come back in together. Again, I have a video on this. Don't, for the love of God, sorry, I don't mean that to sound judgmental. I have such a soapbox on this. Don't ask a whole group question and then rely on volunteers. That is death to your lessons. That is death to your instruction. That is death to your learning. That is death to your student growth. That is death to your end of year evaluation, your observation. RIP. Like I said, I have such a soapbox, so let me digress for a second. When you ask a whole group question and then you're relying on volunteers, you're letting all the kids who are not raising their hands opt out. You're technically letting all of your students opt out. If you're asking for hands to answer a whole group question, you're saying that you don't have to answer this. It's optional. Who wants to answer it? And you already know it's going to be the same freaking kids over and over and over. And that shows that we're asking questions to see who gets it right. That's not what we want to do. We want to ask questions to see if they're picking up what we're putting down, to see if they're actually understanding our lesson. Do you know what I mean? If learning is optional, if students don't have to answer your questions, what does that say about our classrooms? And then on top of that, you guys already know idle's time is the devil's playground. If your students don't have to participate in your lesson, if they don't have to answer your questions, if they don't have to work and think, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to find a way to entertain themselves. It's not going to be what you want though. Behaviors are going to start up. And then on top of that, it's a horrible feedback loop. No one gives you what you need. No one's answering your question. No one's getting it right or whatever it is. So you're like, oh my gosh, they don't get it. So what do? You go back and you do it again. You teach it again. Let's do one more problem. And it's just like this continuous loop of not getting anything done. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, we've all been there. How do I know all this? From experience. I've been there and I've done that. So what should you do? I'm so glad you asked. Do require an action or a task when you pose a question. I call it active answering. I've heard other creators refer to it as tasking, not asking. That's exactly right. So when you ask a question, require 100% of your students to do something in response to that. Whiteboards, hand signals, turn and talks, sentence starters. And then the key here is that you have to hold your students accountable in doing that task. You can't just throw it out there and hope they're going to do it, because we all know if we give an option, they're not going to do it. So every kid has to know that they are accountable for giving you a response. You cold call, you have lucky ducks, popsicle sticks with students' names on it, the wheel of names, something. One person from each table group responds, something like that. And if you have questions about this, I know, I understand. You're like, yes, this is what I need. Yes, my lessons need that. I have a great video on all different types of strategies you can use in your classroom to get that accountability, to get those great answers. What do you do when kids don't have an answer? How do you help kids get an answer? So your takeaway here, no more whole group questions with raise your hand volunteers. Promise? That's what big sisters do. We give tough love and we bully. Don't do it. All right, regarding instruction, don't let kids just do whatever or trust that they're going to do something on task when they're done with their work. My ride or dies out there, you guys already know, do use that must do, can do format. Have it anchored on your board, have it with a timer, have a model of the work, have a voice levels expectation. You went over the must do and can do's. And for that must do, again, you have something to hold them accountable for completing that must do. People don't believe me when I say that I rarely have incomplete or unfinished work, holes in my gradebook, and it's because I do this. Every time I ask students to complete a task, a must do, I have some way to check in to make sure that they did it. Now, on occasion, do I have students who need extra time? They didn't complete it for whatever reason, of course. But in general, missing work is not a problem because I use the system. And it doesn't even have to be that big of a thing. It could be something as simple as after reader's workshop, going down your roster and calling out names and having students tell you what page they read to. It could be something as simple as going over to your turn-in tray, grabbing all those papers from your lesson, reading them off, and have students sit down whenever they hear their names. Whoever's standing, you have to follow up with them on when they're going to get that work done. Maybe it's a simple exit ticket. Maybe you come around with a marker and you check to make sure that they answered 3 out of 5 questions. It's something to make sure that students know you're going to follow up. If you told them to do something, you are going to follow up. We're about that life over here. We mean what we say. And then some tips for your can do. If you're using that can do format, start off with only 2 can do options. Make sure it's 2 things that they are already familiar with, they have done. It's something that they don't need your help on. They can do it independently. They can get easy access to those materials that they need for those can do options, and the activity can be done forever. There's no end point. This is one of my favorite ones. Don't just give them directions for their independent or their group work, their learning task, and just hope for the best. Use success criteria. I have a deep dive here. You guys know how I drink the success criteria Kool-Aid. It's basically taking whatever the student's task is, it's breaking down model work with your students and identifying what makes it great work. It turns into a really solid, concrete list of things that students know to do on their work. It's also a list of things that shows if they met that learning target or not. So for example, you're doing food chains. I remember my first year doing food chains. Those food chains were a hot mess. Did it show that they had met that learning standard for Texas? Absolutely not. But I learned over time success criteria for a good food chain. It would label or say what biome or environment these animals are coming from, these organisms are coming from. It includes the sun. My first year, they didn't have the sun in their food chains. It includes a producer. It has at least 1 herbivore, at least 1 omnivore, and at least 1 carnivore. The arrows are going the correct way. The arrows are showing the flow of energy. And then the types of consumers are labeled. I have a model up there, one from previous years, one that I created. I have all those success criteria things listed. Students know exactly what to do. We can use it to check. Are you done with your work? Let's check and see. What are we missing? How did you do? Do you have all these things? Is this work good? I don't know. Is it? Look at all the things you need to have good work. Okay, let's talk about that 2-week action plan. We're going to use 1 week to roll out some new expectations, some new routines, practicing those routines for those trouble spots. The second week is going to be maintenance, enforcing. That's going to be the pushing through to break through that wall to where your classroom breaks this habit and can start running by itself. The fussing stops. It's predictable. They know what you're going to do. They know what your expectations are. And let me speak on, let me give a caveat, because I understand this is going to slow us down in our content. I understand our pacing calendars. I understand our deadlines. I understand. But like I said, front loading, getting a little bit behind right now is so much better than being behind all year because you can't get behavior under control to where you can't teach. We're investing our time right now to make sure that we're able to teach and stay on pace the rest of the year. Do you know what I mean? Admin has a problem with this. Tell them to call me. Just kidding. Admin has a problem with this. You can still teach routines along with your content, if that makes sense. You need a routine for how to get students to come to the floor for your lesson. Your reading mini lesson might just go a little bit slower that day because you're going to teach students how to come to the floor, what materials they need. They're going to get up and they're going to do it again. They're going to practice. You're going to show them the steps. You're going to model. You're going to talk about the do's and don'ts. But you're still going to get your lesson done, if that makes sense. The lesson that you have on your pacing calendar. More examples are here's what we do during our math workshop. Here's what we do when we need help, but Miss Phillips is working with a small group. Here's what we do during our turn-in talks. These can all be taught alongside content, if that makes sense. So yes, you might be moving slower, but just know that this is slow short-term, or do you want to be slow long-term all the way through June? First thing is that we're going to problem solve either using a morning meeting format or just having class discussions if you have an older group of students. Choose 3 topics that you want to cover. It's going to be those problem areas that you're having. Usually it's things like off-task talking, disruptions during your lessons, disrespect. If you're I don't even know, I can't even pinpoint exactly what my problem is, I have a list of 18 morning meeting topics that list out what the problem is and then give you a lesson for how to go about it. Whatever it is, even if it's small things we never have our Chromebooks charged, we're tattling, we're having problems at the bathroom. No matter what it is, you can still use this format. So you can make this format work for yourself. As a class, as a group, you guys are going to identify, why is this a problem? Oh, it's a problem because we're not getting our work done. Oh, it's a problem because our class block compared to all your other 6 classes, we're behind. Oh, this is a problem because we can't get our work done because none of our Chromebooks are charged. This is a problem because our custodian is having to do all this extra work because we can't control ourselves in the bathroom. This is a problem because it makes us not feel good to be in our classroom. Anchor those things as a class. Next, have your kids help you generate ideas for what your expectations should be. They're generating solutions to this problem. For the bathroom, we're getting water all over the floor. So what could we do instead? Well, it happens because people are taking their hands from the sink over to the dryer. What if over the sink, we shake our hands off for 5 seconds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way all the water's in the sink before we go to the dryer. You're coming up with solutions to these things together as a class and anchoring them on an anchor chart. We're not bringing our Chromebooks to school charged. What if everyone finds a place in their kitchen? Tomorrow, your homework is to come back and tell us in our morning meeting, what is your one place in your house where you are always going to charge your Chromebook? I want you to come back and tell me, is it on your kitchen countertop? Is it in your bedroom next to your nightstand? Is it at that one outlet that's right by the back door whenever you leave for school in the morning? That's your homework. You have to tell me what is the one place in your house that you're going to charge your Chromebook. Like, you guys are coming up with concrete steps together. To wrap it up, you're going to identify what are your next steps. Either this is what's going to happen if we don't have our Chromebooks. You're going to get a note home. You're going to have no Chromebook free time on Friday. You're going to whatever. The bathroom monitor is going to have a list of names. Whatever you guys decide as a class. Maybe it's also a reward. If we can go 4 out of 5 days with no reports of water on the floor in the bathroom, we'll get Chromebook free time, or we'll go outside, something like that. Whatever motivates your class, decide together, write it on that anchor chart. And then every day it's going to be posted. You're going to refer to it. You're going to go through those steps. You're going to remind them what you're looking for. You're going to remind them what the expectations are. And then you can reinforce with stickers. My students love lip smackers on the back of their hands, the different flavors. Just simple positive narration. Thank you, so-and-so. I see that you remembered to get all of your stuff out of your book box before you came to your seat. I noticed every person at the red table pushed in their chairs today. Thank you. So those 3 topics that you chose, maybe it's bathroom, maybe it's Chromebooks, maybe it's off-task talking. You're going to use that first week to hit those 3 topics. I think 2 days for each topic is pretty reasonable, even if you're like short on time. And unfortunately, if you are departmentalized, if you have behaviors in all of those classes, yeah, you're going to have to do it in all of your classes. You could choose just one topic, whatever fits your needs. Okay, the second part of your action plan is a routines reset. Like I said, identify 3 main trouble spots. Use that checklist if you need to. Maybe it's coming into class after recess and starting math. Maybe it's your pack up and dismissal routine. Maybe it's your reading or math direct instruction when your students are on the floor for your lesson. You're going to write out very clearly those steps for your routine using do language, what you do want to see. I have a great resource for you guys. It's called No Detail Left Behind. And every routine that's on that main checklist, this No Details Left Behind document breaks down things to consider to write your own routine. Voice levels, what materials, what's the teacher's job versus what's the student's job, what do they do when they're done, to help you write your own routines if you're like, I don't really know where to start. And if you really don't know where to start, I have another resource for you guys. That's exactly how I do all of my routines in my class. How I have my students come to the floor for a mini lesson, how I do my math workshop, what my students do when another student is going crazy, what my expectation is to keep the rest of my class on track, how I do my pack up, how I switch all 3 of my classes, how they do turn and talks. It's like everything is on there. That's called example breakdown. I'll link it in the description of this video for you guys. And then to roll it out to your students, you're going to teach it just like you do your content, but we need to make it like a empowering moment. So the way that I usually, whenever I have these types of problems and I have to roll out a new routine with my students, I'll say something like, you know how pack up is such a problem for us? We're losing stuff. I'm always fussing. I'm frustrated. You guys are frustrated. We're always late. It just doesn't feel good, right? The chaos is contagious. Today, we're going to start something new. We're going to do a new pack up routine that's going to feel really good. We're going to be nice and organized. I'm going to be calm. You guys are going to be calm, because calmness can be contagious too, right? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show them my anchor chart. I'm going to model each step. I'm going to show them what I do want, what I don't want. And then get up. We're going to practice. Yes, get your backpacks. Yes, we're going to go through these steps together. And I've talked about this in another video before. We want this to feel like empowering, not punitive. Unless you're at that point with your students where you've done this, they know, there is a time for consequences, right? But like if you're just doing a simple reset, we want this to be like, yes, if you guys get 100% nailing all of these steps on your pack-up routine while we're practicing, we'll go outside for 10 minutes. We'll watch an ASMR video today. Whatever motivates your kids. I have a video on that to make sure that you're successful in rolling out those routines if you are interested in that. Okay, and then that second week, is the enforcing. So obviously you're enforcing in the first week, but the second week is like everything is rolled out and now you're making sure you have to hold yourself accountable to making sure that you are being so picky. Every little thing, you mean what you say. Because again, we're not being picky just to be picky. We're doing this because it's non-verbally communicating to our students that we said it, that's what we want. If I said silent, I don't mean kind of quiet. If I said that you're on your last warning for talking, I'm taking action next time. So, what that might look like is, let's say that one of my routines in the first week was redoing how my students move from their seats to the floor for my reading mini lesson. I have a chart displayed down low in my floor area where my students can see it of the expectations. And I'm going to say to my students, okay, I'm about to start calling table groups to come to the floor for our reading mini lesson. Here are the steps that we said we're going to do. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm going to refer to that chart, review them very quickly. And then I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to chunk each step. Like I'm like holding their hands as we go through this. After every step, I'm checking to make sure that 100% of my students are there. It looks like this. When desks are clear, I'll call you to the floor. And then you're scanning their desks to see which table groups, which students, which rows have clear desks already. Red table, let's have you guys try. Show everyone that you know what to do. You're monitoring. They see that you are monitoring. Great job. I love how you guys are quick and quiet. Everyone pushed in their chairs. You're already on the second step. Everyone has their readers' notebooks and their pencils. Great job, red table. I'm not calling my other students yet. I'm taking it nice and slow because, like I said, I have to be picky and I have to monitor. I can't do that if my students are just like en masse coming to the floor, right? All right, let's see who else is ready. Blue table, you guys look great. Let's see how you guys do. And you're doing the same thing until all your students are there. Yes, it's going to feel so slow. But like I said, an investment of our time right now. We're investing our time and then we're going to get the rewards the rest of the year. Because remember, we're breaking habits here. We've spent a few weeks building up some bad habits without the intention of that. We didn't mean to, but our students picked up some bad habits. Now we know what we don't want. So you might feel like the bad guy sometimes, having them break those habits. Nope, go back and try it again. Nope, your Chromebook is, bring me your Chromebook, actually. Nope, go back and push in your chair. Nope, my expectation is silent. Try that again. You're catching every little thing. I taught my new pack-up routine and we're still struggling. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to spend from 8 to 8:45 practicing. I know, we don't like it, do we? Then show me that you can do it. As soon as we get 100%, we'll be done practicing. It's a natural consequence, right? So I know it can feel hard. It can be hard. We're taking hard short term versus hard long term, right? Choose your routines that you want to reteach, tighten up and like tweak that instruction and that work time. And remember that if you're mad, you've let it go too long. It can be simple. Go back and try it again. It can be simple. What's the expectation? Right. Can you do that for me? Thanks. All right, you guys know what time it is. I'm going to hop on over to the post-dismissal debrief. This is a post-dismissal debrief unlike any other. Your girl is pretty down bad in her personal life right now, given all of the social media hysteria that's going on, given the national turmoil that's going on. So we are going to touch on that and talk about how that ties into my personal life. So I do hope you guys will join us. And if not, I will see y'all next time. I hope this helps.